How will you handle negative emotions in difficult situations? How are you going to handle difficulty when it comes, negative emotions? Let me talk about the garden of your love. When you're in the dating phase of marriage, you're planting. When you're in maybe the newly married phase of marriage, you're planting a garden. Beautiful things. All the flowers and the plants that you're planting, they're beautiful things that are wonderful to have, okay? In a marathon, you have to tend those things. In a sprint, you don't. In a sprint, you're just planting flowers and all that, and you just think they're always going to look like that. But any mature person knows that if you don't tend something, it always decays. Things never get better when they're not tended. You have to tend the garden of your love. And regardless of how much in love you are, there will be weeds and bugs every day. If you go out to your garden every day, you're going to have weeds and bugs. Let me tell you the secret to a great garden. Pull the weeds every day and kill the bugs every day. Every day. And when you do it every day, it's not hard. There's a few of them there, you pick them and you go on. But when you don't do it for a long time, the garden will be destroyed. Karen and I fell in love, and we were both planting words and things in each other that we absolutely loved. And we planted this beautiful garden, and we couldn't wait to have that garden together. But we didn't know how to deal with weeds and bugs. And so we didn't. Every couple is going to have problems in marriage that they have to deal with, and the way you deal with those makes all the difference in how your marriage is going to be. So let me give you 4 questions and 4 keys. I'm just going to read through these very quickly. Because the 4 questions are, this is going to determine now if the garden of your love is going to thrive or if it's going to die. Okay. And by the way, if it's completely dead, it can be resurrected, because Karen and I's garden was completely dead. And as we began to deal with weeds and bugs and began to pursue each other and serve each other, our garden was resurrected, and it's been phenomenal ever since. And so if you've lost a lot of the passion in your marriage, you can get it back. 4 questions. Are you going to trust God or your feelings? People who follow their feelings lead a painful life. Okay. Trust God. Are you going to face your problems or ignore them? Because when you ignore problems, they don't go away, they accumulate. Are you going to ignore the weeds? Are you going to ignore the bugs and just hope they go away? Or are you going to face them and deal with them? I'm talking about you as a couple. Number 3, are you going to take responsibility for your issues or blame your spouse? And it's this mentality that says it's all their fault, and if they changed, everything would be all right. Well, let's just say this. Let's just say 75% of it is their problem, but 25% of it's your problem. Are you going to change your 25%, or are you going to point the finger at them for their 75%? You might be surprised what happens to your marriage when you begin to take responsibility for that 25% and stop focusing on them. And number 4, is you going to fight for your marriage or turn your heart away? Are you going to turn your heart away from your spouse? Hebrews 13:5, God says, I'll never leave you or forsake you. And forsake means turn your heart away. God says, I'll never turn my heart away. On the worst day of our relationship, I won't turn my heart away. All affairs, all divorce, all bad things happen on the day that you turn your heart away from your marriage. And you decide, I'm going to go to work, I'm going to have an affair, I'm going to put my green zip-up jumpsuit on and go in the garage and build something for 30 years. But I'm checking out. I'm checking out. I'm going to fight for my marriage, and regardless of how bad things get, I'm not turning my heart away from my spouse. So you're going to trust God or your emotions? Trust God. You're going to face it or ignore it? I'm going to face it. You're going to take responsibility or blame? I'm going to take responsibility. And you're going to fight for your marriage or turn your heart away? I'm going to fight for my marriage. Okay. What are you going to do? What are you going to do when the garden of your love, when you notice that there are things to deal with? Okay, those are the questions. Here are the keys. Number 1, let your spouse be honest, and be honest yourself. Build an atmosphere of honesty that says, honey, we want to have a great marriage, and I want to be a good husband, I want to be a good wife. If there's anything wrong, you can say whatever you want to say, and you won't pay a price for it. You can be absolutely honest. We want that kind of a marriage. We want that kind of a relationship. Just have an honest, don't be defensive, don't be insecure, because again, the problems don't go away, they just accumulate. And I need Karen to tell me when things are wrong so we can deal with it. Maybe she's right, maybe she's not. The second is, don't deny your feelings, but don't trust them either. My feelings are my feelings, doesn't mean they're right. Don't deny your feelings. If I'm hurt, if I'm angry, but when I'm confronting Karen, I don't say to her this and this and this and this. I just say, here's how I'm feeling. I feel angry, I feel upset, I feel jealous, I feel whatever. I'm not saying my feelings are right. And see, she doesn't feel attacked because I'm not attacking her. I'm just telling her how I feel. It may be right, it may be wrong, it may be something in between. But I can be honest, and then I just tell her how I'm feeling. I don't let my feelings dictate to me, but I listen to them. And I know if they're bad enough, we need to talk about it. The third thing is make the devil your enemy, not your spouse. The devil hates your marriage. He's always wanting to divide your relationship. And Ephesians 4 says, be angry, do not sin. Do not let the sun go down in your wrath, nor give place to the devil. Let me say, if you have gone to bed on anger in your marriage, the devil has visited with you about your spouse, and you've got wrong thoughts about them. I thought I made a mistake. I thought Karen was the enemy, and I had no concept that if I went to bed on anger, the devil would use that to tell me about my wife. Listen, God loves Karen perfectly, permanently, and powerfully. Satan hates Karen perfectly, permanently, and powerfully. Am I going to listen to God or the devil? And it says here, if you go to bed on anger. If you don't deal with the garden of your love today and you go to bed on anger, the devil is he's not going to let you know it's him. He's just going to begin to feed thoughts into your mind about your spouse. They're the enemy. And one of the greatest days in our relationship is the day that I woke up and realized Karen's not my enemy, the devil's my enemy. And if we go to bed on anger, I'm inviting him to come in and to change the way I think about my wife. And I stood up one day and said, that's the most beautiful, perfect person I've ever met in my life. I'm deeply in love with her, and devil, get out of our marriage. I'm tired of you coming in and telling me there's something wrong with her. And the fourth key is get help and accountability if you can't work through your problems quickly. If you've got a chronic situation that's too big for you, go get help. That's wisdom. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. Everybody needs help in their marriage. Go to a pastor, a leader, a godly friend. Go get help. It's the best thing that you can possibly do. But here's my question for you. I've only got one more question. Here's my question for you. What are you going to do when the garden of your love has weeds and bugs? What are you going to do? Trust God. Take responsibility. Face your issues. Don't turn away from your marriage. Let your spouse be honest. Develop this atmosphere of honesty. Talk about your feelings. Just don't let your feelings dictate the relationship, so on and so forth. I'm saying you can have a marriage that lasts for a lifetime and be fantastic, but you're going to have to tend that garden.
Thank you for joining us. Experience the life-changing series Lifelong Love Affair on CD or DVD. Follow your interests and get social by connecting with Jimmy and Karen and the Ministry of Marriage Today on Twitter. Marriage Today's latest book, Lifelong Love Affair, is an essential tool couples can turn to again and again for inspiration and strength. Order your copy today. Become a rock-solid partner today and equip yourself with the tools you need for a successful marriage. $14, $28, or $56 per month. Choose the partnership level that's right for you. Become a rock-solid partner today.